shocks to the system are we going to need? Because you'd think COVID would be a pretty big one, right?
Well, if we could figure out where it came from,
Wow.
you know, all I can say is you would think and I don't know.
The media has not been kind.
I don't know. You know, you mentioned as well the fentanyl, mass murder, 70,000 dead Americans last year of all sorts, and nothing much has happened to China.
What percentage of the fentanyl coming into the U.S. originates in China or precursor chemicals?
I've heard figures of 99%, most of it. And the idea that China can't stop it, they just don't know, it's a big country, and you know they don't have the laws, the police can't do anything. That's nonsense. You know, I used to do this organized crime stuff for a living, and I know something of
on which side of the organized crime?
The good side.
Okay.
Yeah, the good side. But, no, the good side. To the point, actually, I was, someone once asked, we were very effective, and the people I worked for, we were, someone asked one of the bosses, it was a Northeast Asian organized crime. Someone said, well, who, what companies can't you do business with? He named our company, and they described me as the problem. And the guy said, well, you're going to do something about it. He goes, well, not yet, because so-and-so and so-and-so are so willing to do business with us. But I appear to have lived to tell about it. But the point is we were trying to run a clean operation, so we did. But the point is that with Chinese organized crime, it always tracks back to the government, to MSS, Ministry of State Security, to the People's Liberation Army, to some part of the CCP.
That's how the CCP got started. It was a guerrilla criminal organization that seized control of a country. Never lost that.
Yeah. So the point of that is that this is not something that the Chinese government does not know about, and their surveillance is so good. You know, you go.
Well, we know that because you can't, like, there's not a fentanyl problem in China.
Well, actually, he told President Trump that when Trump asked him in 2018 to stop the fentanyl, and Mr. Trump, of course, declared it was a game changer. It wasn't, but she apparently said that, well, I don't have a drug problem. You do. And the idea being, well, yeah, if we don't have one, because we've made sure we don't. You know, go to China, and here's my test for the people who doubt that they could stop it is, go to China, well, if you can, and go out on the street and walk around till you see a picture of President Xi, and get out your Sharpie and draw a mustache on him, and see if the police are waiting for you before you get back to your hotel or 5 minutes afterward. The surveillance is that good, and they know exactly what's going on. But it's extremely effective war. If you can kill 70,000 of your enemies, and that's the dead. You know, the walking wounded from fentanyl, the numbers are greater. Think of the effects on families. None of these people are ever going to be Rhodes Scholars, they're not even going to be good workers in a factory if we had factories.
Yeah, and if you have a lot of veterans who have, PTSD and they've gotten into drug problems, like, they're not going to be fighting again either, right? You've effectively taken 2 or 3 divisions off the battlefield, and that's 1 year. In the 12 years of Vietnam, we lost 55,000 people about. In 1 year, 70,000 Americans, and the as important thing is what was the penalty to China for doing this? Nothing. What should you do? Well, as People's Bank of China's license, pull it for a year, and for starters. So the penalty was BlackRock only tripled the investment in China and didn't quadruple it.
Well, that's a win-win.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But what I like is there is a lot that, like, your average American can do, like the comparison to the apartheid protests. Like, that's something that anyone watching the show can do. They can get those kind of protests started. They can hold American businesses accountable. Don't do business with China. Put the screws on American companies and Wall Street and politicians. There is a lot that people listening can actually do.
Yeah, when it becomes an issue of either legal liability, just immense embarrassment, and becomes a vote getter in one way or the other for DC, that is how you start to shift things. I think things tend to shift. Sometimes it's almost imperceptible, but over time, things can change. It is much different now, say, from the U.S. military. than it was in 2015 when Captain Jim Fennell was cashiered and fired. He was the head of intelligence in Pacific Fleet because he said China was getting ready for a war. You couldn't say that. China would be angry. And I had similar run-ins with the Marine Corps commissars for saying far less about China that, before and after that era. And that is a lot different now. And so we do tend to change. And, I like to think, and I point this out, that we've been in fixes before. I've heard from people who are alive in World War II that, boy, in early 1942, it seemed like we were going to lose. And we had a civil war, which was quite something, and it seemed like the U.S. was finished. But we've always gotten a break. We've gotten an extra chance. I'm not sure. I think Bismarck said that God gives special treatment to, what was it, drunks, pregnant women, and the United States of America. It may be apocryphal, but we sometimes get a break. But boy, you always hope, that we still got one more coming.
Or Churchill saying, Americans will always do the right thing after exhausting every other option.
Well, we're doing our best to do that.
Well, thank you so much for joining us in person today. Once again, the book is When China Attacks, A Warning to America. We'll put a link below, but I highly recommend you pick up a copy yourself. And Grant, where can people follow you, learn more about what you're doing?
Oh, my goodness. I can answer any question, but this is the one.
You don't have the Twitters?
No, I do, actually.
What's your TikTok account?
What's your TikTok?
Okay,
yes.
well, the thing is I do. Okay, I tried to prepare for this. I have a Twitter, I think they call it handle, Twitter name. Mm-hmm. It's @Newsham Grant. And then I have something that links to my work, and it's grantnewsham.com, I think would get you to my work.
All right. We'll put links.
Yeah, please. I apologize for that. It's the one thing I just stumble over every time. I slept through that course on self-promotion.
You can write a book. But definitely check out the book. It's a fantastic read, really exciting, lots of great points in there.
It's terrifying, but also pretty funny, actually.
Well, I wrote like I was writing for my mother and trying to be constructive.
And you also mentioned China Uncensored in it, too.
Yeah, mad props to the first viewer who can tell us on what page China Uncensored is referenced.
That's good. That's a good idea, Matt. Well done.
Okay.
So buy the book.
Yeah, usually we don't have a person in the studio with us when we end this, so I don't quite know what to do.
Well, that's okay. I would say that I had thought you guys might be Chinese bots. Mm-hmm. But
I'm not convinced Shelley
you don't
isn't.
appear that way. But so this was the benefit of coming here.
Yeah, I'm just a regular bot. Yeah.
Huh? Oh God, what have I done? I'm gonna be canceled.